Hello and welcome to another edition of Community Forum. My name is Joseph Feaster, the host of the program. And once again, we have another exciting topic, and what I'd like to do best is to talk about what is going to be going on here in Stoughton. Today, I'm going to be speaking with guests who are going to be talking about a housing development which they want to develop here in the town of Stoughton. It is an exciting development, and they have gone through the planning process regarding this development. And what it will look to do is to add 118 units of elderly affordable housing, elderly housing here in Stoughton. My guests today are Christopher Trevisani, who is the Director of Development for the Northeast for a company called Calamar. And Margaret Murphy, who is a consultant with Calamar on this particular project, which you will soon learn to know is going to be called Autumn Ridge Estate. So, Christopher, Margaret, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Excited about one who does real estate development and also lore in that particular area. I'm always excited to hear about development projects and to get a sense of what you have planned in that regard. And I guess I'll start with you, Christopher. I would like to know just a little bit more about Calamar. One, I know you're located in North Andover, but in terms of why Stoughton, why this particular site, and as well, once you let us know a little bit about you and the company Calamar.
Okay, certainly. Thanks. I am the Director of Development for Calamar. And Calamar, we've been in the real estate business for about 20 years. We started in developing medical office space, kind of in Western New York and in Canada, and then that evolved into building some senior housing for some non-for-profit partners. People liked the way we did business and the way we built our product, our attention to detail and to quality. So we had some partners that were interested in having us develop some senior housing through the HUD 202 program, which those who may not know is more of a subsidized, affordable housing, age-restricted type of development. But you're restricted to your income and you're restricted to your how many assets you can have. So it's very income qualified. But as we got to developing those, we did 3 or 4 of those, and we found that the market was tremendous. Folks in the 62 age and up. But we also found that a lot of people didn't qualify. Their income was either too high, or they were selling a house, and when they did that, their assets kind of got them to a level that was above what was eligible. So what we saw was an untapped demand for that type of housing. So we went on our own and started developing market rate senior housing. So we've did 3 or 4 of those out in the Western New York market, and they were basically 100% occupied before we finished construction. So we saw that need in Western New York, and then we expanded it to the Midwest. And we now have 5 communities that are built in the Midwest, and now we opened up an office in North Andover, and we see similar demographics and trends in the New England market as in Western New York and in the Midwest. So we're very excited about developing senior housing in Stoughton. And a little bit about when I say senior housing, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So to talk about Calamar and the type of senior housing that we develop, like I said, it's market rate. There's no income restrictions, and it's independent living. What we found is that a lot of seniors in a community, they kind of outgrow, or their current housing situation doesn't fit their needs anymore. Coming from being based in Western New York and starting our business there, we're familiar with the winters we had here in New England this year. So we understand how as people age, the snow plowing, the furnace breaking down, just regular maintenance of a home that, you know, maybe you raised a larger family and doesn't really fit your needs as families grow and downsize. So what we provide is an independent living rental community.
Well, before I go into this project specifically, because
Sure.
what I like to do is in terms of want to have our audience get to know Margaret a bit. So I would, I know you're the consultant on this particular project, Margaret, and you may be with others with them. So why don't you let our audience know a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, and how you came to this project. And then, Christopher, I'll come back to you and
Sure.
speak specifically about Autumn Ridge Estate.
Okay,
Margaret?
Thank you. I'm Margaret Murphy, like you said, and I live in the area, and I'm a real estate consultant to many different types of developments, and I've been very active in the housing world, know lots about affordable housing and market rate housing and the need for it and the types that are desirable in the area. And this product is especially desirable. There's really nothing like it around. These are independent apartments. There's some common space. There's a lifestyle coordinator at the facility, at the apartment complex. So it's a nice transition from, like you said, I really don't want to take care of my house anymore, but I want to stay in my community. So this gives people an opportunity to stay in Stoughton and live pretty nice lifestyle. The apartments are moderately priced. In this particular case, we have 128 apartments. 15 of those will be targeted for folks who make around 80% of median income.
Which for our guests, for our viewing audience, what would that work out
That
to
would be in the mid, like 40s
Okay.
for one person, and more than that, a little more than that for two people. And so the other nice thing about Massachusetts is that we have regulations that allow you to dedicate 70% of the affordable units to people who have a local preference qualification. And the selectmen will set whatever the local preference is. It's often people who've lived in the town, have relatives in the town, may work in the schools or whatever. So it's a nice opportunity for local folks to have sort of first dibs at some of the affordable units. And these are, like we said, these are people that make in the 40s or 50s. And you can live very nicely at a Calamar property with that type of income.
Thank you very much, Margaret. Chris, let's come back to you and let's walk folks through the product that you have planned, giving them a sense of where it is and what are some of the amenities and exactly what your timetable is.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. As you can see from the rendering here, this is more of a visual perspective of the exterior elevations of our proposed community. Now, again, dealing in the Northeast in the weather, what we like to do is one building. So we like to put all of the residences, all 128 residences will be in one building. And what that does is it creates some efficiencies in terms of the building layout. But as you have a February and a January like we did this year, if one resident wants to visit another resident or take advantage of some of the community spaces that we offer, they don't have to put their coat on, go outside. They can just walk down the hall and take care of those activities. In terms of the common areas and amenities that we provide, and again, after doing 10 or 11 of these, we do surveys of what our residents like, what they don't like. So we're constantly trying to improve the community itself and the amenities that we provide. So we do have one large community area within the building. It's kind of right when you come in off the entrance. And that does have a catering kitchen. So it does provide enough seating for the entire community to have events. But it's also available for a resident to host a bridal shower for their daughter or their niece, or private parties for residents. But we also hold community events, as Margaret mentioned briefly. We do have a lifestyle coordinator on staff. So in addition to providing a residential housing option, it's also what I think is very important, and something I'm very passionate about, is it provides a social atmosphere. Our typical tenant here, although we restrict to 55 or 62, the average tenant's 72 years old in all of our communities. And a lot of times they're a widow or a widower, and living alone for a while. This provides a very nice social atmosphere for seniors to stay in the community, but also to live within a community of peers their age with similar interests and similar lifestyles.
What are some of the unit mixes? Can you talk about that, and how many of the one bedroom, two bedrooms, or whatever? Could you talk a little bit about that, just in terms of unit mix?
Sure.
Margaret?
We have 32 one-bedrooms and 96 two-bedroom units, and they are full apartments. They have washers and dryers, full kitchens. So we have two opportunities for people if they want. They can eat in their apartment, or they can go out to eat, or they can make a meal with friends at our community kitchen. So, but people have a completely independent apartment. He was mentioning the social aspect, and we've met with people at the Council on Aging, and they have, as you know, Stoughton has a wonderful Council on Aging and really active programs. I'm sure that we would be coordinating with them, with our lifestyle coordinator and our residents. I'm sure there'll be lots of interaction between them.
What we didn't talk about is putting the development in perspective as to where it's located. And why don't you talk about that siting? And I know we have a board up here which talks about that. Why don't you give folks a perspective as to location, where it is? Talk about traffic mitigation or any of those types of issues, which obviously will come up and have come up with community meetings as well as with the planning board. Can you speak a little bit about that, either you or Margaret, Christopher?
Sure. And we can pan over to the proposed site plan, but the site itself, where the proposed development is at 600 Pleasant Street, which is at the intersection of Pleasant and Roberts Road, and it's just east of the Pleasant and Central intersection. That's kind of the intersection where most residents know where that is. But in terms of why we chose this site, backing up a bit, the town of Stoughton does not, their zoning does not really permit this type of development. Does not permit senior housing built that's market rate. So what we are doing is we're proposing the Pleasant Street Senior Housing Overlay District. So that is what's going before town meeting members as a proposed warrant article. So that's really the first step in the process, is getting this overlay district adopted. And what this overlay district does is it's specific to this particular site. And what that would do is permit this proposed use on this site.
Now, you were speaking of, and that's interesting in order to know, because I would suspect that the zoning for this is entirely different at the present time. But obviously with community support and with the support in town, there's favorability to allow for the zoning change or the proposal which will come before us. I'm a town meeting representative and other town meeting representatives in order to vote on, which I will say, having spoken with Margaret early in the week and reviewed some of the documents, it's a great plan. But let's talk about some of the aspects that people are concerned about, and let's just make clear. Let's confirm the age issue. Let's talk about the permanency of certain things, affordability, and otherwise. I think let's lay out some of those factors so people know clearly, based upon some of the questions that have come before you, exactly what this development will offer to citizens in the town, the benefits to the town, and some of the in perpetuity aspects of it that'll be in place. So either one of you can address those.
I can address the age restriction, because that is a common question, not only in Stoughton, but wherever we're proposing developments. The fear is, if you come in with an age-restricted community, what's to stop you from relieving that age restriction and making it just a regular market rate community, and anyone can live in there. What the the federal government has what's called a Fair Housing Act, and what that permits you to do, or a developer to do, is to restrict occupancy by age. It's one of the exemptions from the protected class statute. So you cannot. The law is meant so certain protected classes cannot be refused housing options. But one part of the article is that you can restrict occupancy by age, and it's in a couple of different categories. One is 55 and over, and one is 62 and over. And what we're proposing here is a 62 and over category, which restricts all of the occupants to be over the age of 62.
Now,
So
excuse me for cutting you off, because I'm sure some of this, because of your background, Margaret, you made a recommendation to the developer as to which of those they might apply, and also you're dealing with the outreach and the community process, which is very important in development, since development is political and local. So just to piggyback on what Christopher has said about establishing it because the law allows it, can you talk about the role that you played in some of that, and also the community process and the political process that you're taking the development through as it relates to this development?
Well, we did talk a lot about whether it would be 55 and over or 62 and over, and there is a great need in Stoughton for 62 and over, and it's a different kind of community, and that certainly is the best fit for Stoughton. This is going to be a terrific project for folks over 62. And as he said, we're going to be going to town meeting for a vote on that. And town meeting is the only one that can decide whether the zoning is for 62 or 55. So once town meeting speaks, once you speak, that's the way it is. And in order to change it, you have to go back to town meeting. Also, in order for the units, the affordable units to count towards the subsidized housing inventory, which the town is very, very firm about, we have to have an agreement with the Department of Community Development, Housing and Community Development. So we'll have a very ironclad agreement with them saying this will stay 62 and this will stay, the 15 affordables will stay affordable for a very long time. We also, you mentioned, we're going through a process. We've invited all of the town meeting members to meet with us. We've met with many boards in town, and we're trying to get the word out and answer any questions that anyone has, because it's very important that all the facts are known before people go to town meeting and vote. And as you know, the planning board has to make a recommendation, and they have voted to approve this rezoning. So we're very grateful about that. And we'll be, I'm sure, meeting over the next 6 weeks with anyone who will meet with us and anyone who's interested. And we're happy to answer any questions. We've tried to be very proactive as far as we've done a traffic report, a fiscal impact report, and those are both being reviewed by the town's consultants right now. So we'll have the information back. We're fairly confident that our information is certainly pretty accurate, and we're going to make sure that it's confirmed by the town's consultants.
Well, I can tell you, Christopher, Margaret was very aggressive on this. After I received my letter and gave her a call, we talked about her and you coming on the program. Well, she had already spoken to Roy Cohen, the producer for that. So we want to be a vehicle to allow for our viewing audience to get an opportunity to learn what's going on and get the facts.
Right.
I mean, the issue is getting the facts, you know, as opposed to having the innuendos and that are here.
Excellent.
So once let's speed ahead, and let's presume that you now have your approvals that you need. You have the town meeting has voted for the zoning change. The planning board has gone through all of the consultants and the town engineer and everyone else has given you the blessing, the building commissioner. You're now going forward. What's your timetable as far as start to finish in terms of development? What is the process and who might be involved in the rent up and those types of things? Any thoughts about that, Christopher?
Sure. Again, you know, as people may know, the town meeting is just the first step to get the zoning done, and then we will need to get a lot of the technical aspects of the site plan worked out with the planning board. So
yes.
A lot of those have already been addressed, and we've looked at numerous site configurations and driveway locations, and what we have is the most optimal site plan design. So assuming that all goes through and we're ready to start construction. The first step we do is we do a focus group. What we'll do is we'll work with Margaret and we'll work on getting, right now we already have 25 seniors interested in it just from just word of mouth in the publications that we have. But what we'll do is we'll survey them, just make sure the amenities that we're providing, the common areas, everything is in concert with what the seniors want. You know, what we've learned is a senior in Wheatfield, New York is different than a senior in Omaha, Nebraska is different than a senior in Stoughton, Massachusetts. So we'll start with a focus group, do that, generate you know, our list of interested parties, and then from there our construction time frame is anywhere from about 12 to 16 months from start of construction to certificate of occupancy where people can start moving in.
So using the timetable that you've just suggested, to possibly a opening in 2017 seems possible. Possible,
yes.
But late 2017.
Right. It's hard after a winter like we just had.
Yeah, you won't
to
be doing much
aggressive on construction. Right?
Won't be doing much construction during the winter, for sure. Margaret, just want to give you an opportunity because again we've spoken about Calamar and its role and what it has done over the years. I want to give you an opportunity to do your own promo as well on this particular show to talk about Margaret Murphy and who you are and what you do. I know you gave some indication as to, General, I want to drill down a little bit. I want folks to really get a sense of what you can offer to a development because there may be other developers who are thinking about projects such as this and they may want to utilize your expertise. So this is your free moment in order to do some promo on Margaret Murphy.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you. Basically, I just work with developers and hospitals.
Well, let's talk about your
colleges.
background. Let's talk about how you came into this. Let's talk a little bit about you. How did you come to be in this business? What's your background, training, experiences? Yeah.
To tell you the truth, I always really liked politics, and I was very involved in my town, and I had run for school committee and been on the school committee and run a bunch of Prop 2.5 override campaigns. And an attorney asked me to help him with a town meeting vote, and I did. And 25 years later, I'm still doing it.
All right. Well, so, and as I said, development is local and political.
It is.
And so therefore, you oftentimes, as developers, you need folks to be able to guide you through the malaise or maze of getting to the point of getting the types of permits
And
that you need.
it is about communicating. It's really important to communicate the facts, the real facts, to your audience and everyone in the community. Without that, it makes the process very difficult. So we're trying to make sure that by the time we get to town meeting, all the town meeting members know who we are, know what we're proposing, and if they have any questions or comments, they've all been addressed or dealt with. And we've had, even in the beginning of the process, we had people say, we'd like you to do this or think about that, and we've modified our proposal as we've gone along. As people have requested and as we see that it makes more sense for Stoughton to do it this way rather than that way. So,
again, speaking about the localness of development, what are going to be the opportunities for local persons to either, one, be involved with construction, two, be involved with the permanent positions that will come available as you provide the living arrangements for the residents, some of the communal types of spaces. Any thought about that, Christopher?
Sure, I can just state on past experience, again, doing 11 and now 15 in total, all between what's currently in operation and what's under construction, is there's tremendous opportunity for locals to participate in the construction. We'll have one employee of Calamar who acts as the construction manager, but he or she will more than likely hire local subcontractors for every trade from site work to framing to mechanical and plumbing. So there's an opportunity during that construction. And then more times than not, the community managers, the lifestyle coordinators are people from the community. They're within the community. So just based on past experience, I think there's tremendous opportunity for locals to be a part of this exciting development.
Well, I'm going to give an opportunity as well, and Gina, if you're listening to me, I would like you to bring up the slide which shows where the company's information, and you know, Margaret, why don't you walk us through? This is the information that if people want further information, why don't you just walk them through this slide?
Right. Obviously, you can write to us at Calamar at the North Andover address. You can call the number that's on the screen, or you can email us at autumnridgestoughton@gmail.com, and we will faithfully respond. Like I've said, we've had several people that have contacted us about living at Autumn Ridge Estates, and we are keeping a waiting list, and we're keeping those people up to date about what's happening. And like Chris said, we will certainly include them when we do our focus groups. And we'll also be, like I said, be talking to the Council on Aging and other people in town about the final version and what exactly it will look like and what kind of services it will have, because it's very important to have it tailored to what Stoughton residents want.
Well, again, I want to thank you, Christopher. I want to thank you, Margaret. I am personally committed to seeing Stoughton become the center, the epicenter, as it was historically for all of the towns who were around here. And anyone who knows the history of Stoughton will know that even Sharon was called Stoningham back in the day. But nonetheless, we welcome this type of development. As you know, we are doing our planning in town for our downtown.
Right.
So this can be helpful in terms of making Stoughton a destination and for people being able to live and reside here. So again, want to thank you both. Want to wish you well as you go through the process.
Thank you.
I want to just say to our residents, get educated on the project, learn what this project was going to be, have a conversation, use the number that was provided in order to contact them. And I want to thank you both for joining me today on the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much.